time a river that flows in one direction? Or does it? What if a single choice could reshape destiny? What if the past whispered secrets meant only for you? What if the future was not set in stone? In this video, we step beyond the veil, into the unknown, into possibility. Shuffle the deck, open your mind, and ask yourself, what if? Welcome back, Tarot Maniacs. This is part 2 of What If Harry Had Listened. I'm not sure what the title of this is going to wind up being. In the first half, we looked at what if Harry had made another choice and not gotten married. What if Meghan had gone in a different direction? We looked at Queen Elizabeth. We looked at a few different things. So we're going to look at some further players here. I don't know if we're going to get a third part. I just want to see how long this one goes. These are some really fun questions. And as always, this is a viewer requested video. So if you have questions, if you have a video that you would like to see, especially if it's a what if, go put it down in the comments below. And as always, if you want your own magical reading with me, there is a link down below as well. So hope to see some of you on my schedule. I have the WhatsApp reading and also WhatsApp and text message, and also the 1 hour private reading where you and I get to sit and have some time together. So hope to see some of you over there. Let's bring up that card view. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed already. We have growing subscribership over here, and we'd love to have some more of you on board. I also have memberships where I give away a reading once a month to my membership. It's a free, full private reading like this. And we also get early access to all of my videos and some private live streams where I answer questions for your own private reading. So hope to see some of you added to the membership. I will bring up the card view now. Please hit that like button and let's giddy up, kids. We are going to make this nice and big for you. So remembering that this is a what if reading. What if Prince Charles, he was then Prince Charles. So I will reference him as Prince Charles here. I don't know if that's incorrect. Maybe I should say King Charles. What if then Prince Charles? That's how I'm going to reference it, so I don't confuse myself. There was a strained relationship between him and Harry and Meghan, and he was very hesitant to give public support to any of the drama. What if Charles had taken a firm stand and either fully supported or fully disowned Harry? What would have happened if he did this? Oh, well, okay. I got 9 of cups. It's drama. Let's go. What if he had fully supported them publicly? What if he had come out very strong and fully supported them publicly? What would have happened? Three of Wands and 6 of Cups. I think a lot of public would have had an issue with it. How would the royal family have responded? Judgment, 8 of Swords. They would have said, you need to do the opposite. You need to cut this sucker off. So I do think that would have been interesting. How would it have affected the monarchy's unity? Would they all have spoken from the same page? If Charles fully supported Harry, how would that have affected the monarchy's unity? If he came out and said, Harry and Meghan have my full support. 6 of Cups, 3 of Wands. I think it would have been easier for them to stand behind the king's command. I think it would have been easier. I don't think that they would have thwarted it as much as this indifference that we have now. What if he had fully disowned Harry? How would that have affected the unity in the family? If he had fully disowned, if he had said, "You're divorcing us, off you go." I think there would have been a lot of agreement, and I think a lot of family members would have stepped up to the page. Why do I think that? Because we have the Empress here and the Queen of Pentacles. The Empress is developing things, bringing them to light, sweetness, good things, growing crops, healthy harvest. This would have been a good choice. And the Queen of Pentacles is massaging and reestablishing those boundaries and foundations. So I do think if he had disavowed them publicly, that he would have gotten robust support from the royal family en masse. So what if Charles had secretly funded Harry and Meghan's life abroad? What if he had secretly funded and said, "This is what we can afford. This is what we're going to put you in"? What would have happened? How would Harry and Meghan have responded to that? King of Pentacles, it would not have been enough. It would not have been enough. They would have said, "We need more. We need more. We need more. We need more. You are putting us at risk. We can't live like this in a $2.3 million house in Montecito. Are you kidding me? It's a shack. It's got 2 bedrooms and there's only 2.5 bathrooms. This is nonsense. We need an Olympic sized pool. We need a tennis court, even though we don't play tennis. We need. They would have asked for a lot more. Now, those of you who watch my channel, you know that I think that Charles had secretly funded part of their life anyway. I think he did give them money. I think he was trying to keep them established and safe, and he was falling for the banana in his tailpipe. He was drinking the Flavor Aid. So, what if he hadn't? What if he said, "You go, you get nothing. You get nothing"? What if he said that? You get nothing. What if Charles had said, "Off you go"? Transforming Harry and Meghan. It takes 2, baby. It takes 2, baby. This doesn't look good, guys. So they would have realized that the decision to leave created an environment for a cataclysmic moment. This would be the cutting off of the funds, disaster, raising their finances to the ground, raising RAZING. Here, the death card, this is transformative for us. We only have each other. We only have each other. Under the surface, King of Cups. Harry doesn't know how to live like a poor person, even though he wants to pretend he's a poor person and put a baseball cap on backwards. Doesn't want to do it. Knight of Pentacles. We saw this with Meghan in the first reading. This would have been about her career. We were talking in the last reading. If you haven't seen it, go on over and look. It's part 1. They would have been constantly questing for money. The quest for money. And we're seeing that now. We're seeing them quest for money. Meghan is supposed to be the moneymaker. That's how she sold herself to Harry. I am a moneymaker. I am somebody who puts asses in the seats. But reality is she's not. Here, Queen of Cups, no one would have been happy. They would have been very upset. On their own, how long would they have lasted on their own? I'm going to shuffle these a little bit. How long would they have lasted? Not long. Not long at all. That money would have been gone, baby gone, before they could have done anything. They didn't have anything to establish themselves. I know people will say that Harry had inheritance from his mother. He had inheritance from the Queen mother. I guess he had some inheritance from the Queen. It was not enough to establish what they needed to do. and it was not enough to establish the way that Meghan Markle wanted to live. I myself, when I moved out to Los Angeles, and this was back in the 90s, was shocked. I looked at a 2-bedroom cottage that was $1.2 million in 1997. Granted, it had gorgeous gardens, and it was one of the craftsman houses. It was one of the it was like a little historic. It wasn't on the historic registry, but it had historic value in terms of architecture. I was kind of blown away. Like, I was like, oh, look at this cute little cottage. Holy crow, it's 1.2. And then I went to go look at it. It had itty bitty closets. It had these minuscule closets. So there wasn't much room to grow in that particular house, but it would have been a great investment. If I was just a single person then. But anyway, so I think, how would what if Charles had cut them off? What kind of impact would that have had on him? Now, we all know that he is not well right now, but what kind of impact would it have had if he had just said, off you go, you're done. You want to go on this adventure, go on it yourself. What impact would that have had on him? 2 of Pentacles, 5 of Pentacles. He always would have felt badly about turning out his darling boy. Those of us that are parents, you guys know, like, the last thing you want to do is put your kid out on the street. Like, some of these parents that I hear, put their kid out when they were 14, 15, 16 years old. Like, I can't wrap my head around it. I could never. No matter how bratty my child is, I could never put them out on the street. I think he always would have been of 2 minds on this one. Did I make the right choice? Where did I go wrong with that? So, at one point I did do a reading, and I said Charles had to look at the situation with Harry and Meghan as a man, not as a monarch or a father. And I think there's a very different perspective when you look at how someone is wronging you as a man versus a monarch or a father. Very, very different. As a monarch, it gets much bigger. As a father, it gets much more intimate. But as a man, you can execute a bit more of an impartial kind of response to that. So let's look at Tom Inskip. So Skippy Inskip, I hope I'm not being disrespectful by saying that. Skippy Inskip was one of Harry's best friends. Famously, this is the wedding that Meghan crashed down in the islands, and she borrowed a friend's private jet to show up all glammed and glitzed out, going down there trying to be super posh. So apparently she was invited as a +1, and she just decided to go as a 1 herself. So he allegedly warned Harry not to rush into this marriage too. What if Meghan had been turned away from that wedding by the security? What would have happened? So if Meghan had been removed by security, what would Meghan have done? How about that? What would her response have been to that? Five of Swords. She would have gone. I got 2 cards right here. The Star and the Queen of Wands. She would have gone to work. She would have gone to work on who? Would it have been Skippy? Yes. Would it have been Harry? Yes. She would have said that Skippy had told lies about her, that the things that he saw and witnessed and came to his own conclusion, that would have been a lie. She would have, and this would have been in the press, guys, just so you know. She would have dropped this all over the press. It would have been in Hello magazine. So it would have been in People magazine. It would have been in all of her favorites. So she would have gone to war. 5 of Swords is going to war. She would have branded Skippy Inskip as a big fat liar. And what else? What else would she have said about him? That he wanted Harry for himself, that he was moving forward in his life. He was jealous of their union. She would have said that. She would have said that he was jealous that he wasn't marrying a girl just like Meghan. Harry would have been very reckless. And he would have been holding court, and he would have been just fine at that wedding without her. In fact, I think he would have been having a much better time. He would have been the top banana in the royal family there, and the gals would have been hanging. They would have been hanging and having a good time. Instead, he got stuck with boring old Meghan. What if Skippy had actually changed Harry's mind prior to that wedding? There was a hunting party that they had. I don't know if it was at Balmoral, but this famously, Meghan screamed at someone, one of the courtiers or workers, because the blankets were the wrong color red. She had flipped out. And when everyone left, they were all pinging each other on cell phones like she is a nightmare. What is he thinking? What is he thinking? So, what if Skippy had changed Harry's mind? What kind of life would he have had in the immediate after that? Seven of Pentacles. If he had heeded Skippy's warning, he would have been able to look back with a more judicious view. And he would have realized that it wasn't all suns and roses. Guns and roses. I don't think he would have had an epiphany. Seven of Cups, Nine of Cups in reverse. I don't think he would have had an epiphany, but I do think he would have recognized poor choices in the past, poor choices of spouses. That's not to say that Cressida and Chelsea were poor choices, but perhaps he was looking for something different in Meghan. He wasn't looking for a pretty girl that he liked and was having fun. He was looking for someone who had their act together, someone who was doing things in the world. And Meghan sold herself as that. She sold that bill of goods that she was actually an entrepreneur. She had a lot of things going on. She was so busy. She was so busy. In fact, she was plotting and planning, but not really executing really well. So I do think that there would have been a time of reflection, some confusion, maybe trying to figure out what would have been a better choice for him. If Harry had heeded Skippy's warning, what kind of life would he have led? What would his conclusion have been after all of this thinking? The Fool in reverse, Five of Swords, High Priestess, Strength, and Queen of Cups. I think we would have continued to see him looking for someone, and this isn't a shot. This is not a shot. Looking for someone to fulfill a role like his mother. I think the sweetness that he saw in his mother, and we all have many, many sides, and we all know Diana had a bit of a tricksy or manipulative side. And I think that he wanted to find that sweet mother that would have been charming and darling and absolutely adorable. My nephew just got engaged recently, and I think someone like his fiance, someone of that disposition, not my nephew's fiance, but I think she would have been a very good pick for Harry. Not necessarily a good type for her to pick, though. I think he's a bit much to deal with. I think the soft and easy person that he is looking for, the sweet person, is not what he needs. I think he needs someone with a bit more of a balanced approach to reality and dream state. I think he needs someone who's much more in the middle there. And that's a tough fit, that's really a tough fit for him. Um Curious. So I do think we're going to do a part 3 on this. Like I said, I don't want these videos to be too long, and I'll spread them out over a few days so you guys can enjoy them. But if you remember, you'll get to see them all at once because I'll load them up all at once. So stick around, and I will do a part 3 on this What If series. So I will see you in the next one in the future.